am PM Kester, and welcome to the How to Take a Break podcast. This is a wellness-centered podcast presented by PM Kester Enterprises that examines the different types of breaks people take and why you need to incorporate breaks into your life. Let's start the episode. Hello and welcome to season 3 of How to Take a Break, the podcast. I am your host, PM Kester. Thank you for joining me on this journey as I make it to three seasons. I'm like the count, 3 seasons of working with people, telling people how to take a break. Joining me today for an episode I am calling How to Take a Break During the Holidays. It's a part 3. If you listen to season 1, we do this every year around this time. And it's a very popular podcast for a good reason. And joining me today, I have Adrienne McCollum. She is the founder and CEO of Inspire Counseling, LLC, a mental health and wellness firm dedicated to providing quality, evidence-based psychotherapy and counseling. Her practice has 2 locations, one in Hoover, Alabama, and one in Montevallo. Hope I got that right.
Yes.
While Inspire Counseling is highly inclusive and has a diverse demographic of clients, she specializes in women's issues with a focus on women of color, millennials, and post-millennials. Adrienne has more than 7 years of experience, including inpatient and outpatient clinical treatment and medical social work. She is, of course, going to give us some more background as we get into the conversation. But I just want to stop right now and just say, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. You're doing some great stuff. I love what you're doing. I love what you've got going on here.
Thank you. I accept all compliments because, again, three seasons. My hope is to get better with each show. So thank you just for coming on and providing insight on this topic as we go into the holidays. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I gave a little of your background, but please just share with the listeners more of your background, things that you think they should know that I left out of that introduction.
Wow. That honestly, when I saw that, or you told me you would ask about my background, I was really thinking about, people want to know where I went to school and what I studied and basically my resume. But then you kind of knocked it out of the park. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's awesome. And I'm kind of impressed. It sounds pretty good.
Don't you love it when we talk about when someone else talks about us? It's like I was at a conference some years ago in the pre-COVID land, and this head of this group came up and he started reading stuff off about me, and I turned to my colleague and I was like, "That's me." Right? He's talking about me.
Yeah,
so I love when that happens. Like that's
like this, like for real. Yeah, I was telling my intern, I have 2 interns with me right now, one from Troy University to Leah Harris, and I have Erica Williams from Columbia. And so we were chatting today, and I was telling them something happened, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. And it was like, girl, you doing your thing, da, da, da. And I was like, I know that I'm pretty good at my job, but to hear other people talk about it or when different things happen, it's like, am I that good? Like, is it real? So yeah, to hear you kind of read that off was pretty cool.
What's a post-millennial?
A post-millennial. So maybe I made that up. I don't know, but it's like adolescence. So I don't really know. I guess maybe I should say Gen Z. Is that
so it? That whole thing confuses me because I found out that I was a millennial some years ago, and then at one time somebody was calling my group Zennial. I'm 1981, so I'm just like, I'll never know. I'm like, I guess they're talking about me, or maybe they're not talking about me. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I do not work with children.
Okay.
But I don't mind like 16, 17, 18.
Okay, so late teens.
Like from there on up is kind of my jam. Now, when I get into, 11, 12, and some of those younger ages, I feel like I struggle to relate. Well, not maybe, I don't even think it's that I struggle to relate. I think that I've got some cognitive distortions of my own going on about what that's like and what I have to be. And, I kind of have this belief that I have to be fake with children. And I know that's not true, but that's kind of what comes up for me. And so I just stuck with post millennials because I'm like, I'm not, I can take somebody in that, not exactly in my generation, the one behind me, like I'm comfortable there. So that's what I came up with. I need to look into that and see if it's a real thing.
Who knows? It probably is. It might be. You could be setting stuff like to a proper, more understandable like area. But the biggest issue, and with all of those age groups right now, especially if you're on social media and you see all the different posts, we're in November. I count November 1st through January 1st is the holiday season. And that is what's upon us. Daylight savings time happened a couple of weeks ago, combined with the holiday season, and people are just feeling all the feelings right now.
Right.
And that topped on top of the pandemic is just a collision course. So in your opinion, what is it about the holidays that cause stress, anxiety, and depression? And how does the pandemic play into all of that?
Okay. I think that there are a few things that contribute to these symptoms, this pressure, this anxiety, depression. Number one is grief. Grief gets a lot more, it's a lot more present during the holidays because most of us, we grow up and we kind of go our separate ways from our families. And for some, the only time you really gather, or the most important, most like intentionally memorable moments is during the holidays. And so you lose kind of that center of your family, the glue, so to speak, of the family. Holidays just don't feel the same. And so there's just this anxiety about, oh my gosh, I've got to go into this space and be around family that I don't normally see. And there's going to be this big elephant in the room that, Medea is gone, or granddad is not here. And, we miss her cooking, or the laugh, or just, I have an aunt in her late 70s and she's just the cutest ever. And, one of the things about our Christmases with her is you never know what your gift is going to come in. Like, she might have your gift in a Church's chicken box, or something just completely in left field. But it's her, and to expect that. And so I can imagine, if something were to happen to her, our holidays would feel different because that piece of the holidays as we've always known it to be is missing, So I think grief, and just especially that first year or two without your loved one, can be incredibly difficult to manage.
And I imagine even more so during this pandemic, because we've lost like about 766,000 people just in the United States. So I think about how many people this year are dealing with it.
Yes. Yeah. And just the isolation too. So now we've already got grief, but then, we're kind of afraid to come back together, and be around the elders in our families, and possibly expose them to COVID, or, get them sick in some way. Yeah, the pandemic has changed everything. I think that some of the other things are other people's expectations. So just this lack of boundaries with family, the holidays, you may or may not want to, go home this year. Well, now, I know mama is going to be disappointed if I don't show up, that kind of thing. I think financial strain,
yes,
trying to Yeah, finances, microaggressions in the family,
Mm,
kind of, Pop always makes a comment about my weight, I don't want to have to
yes.
deal with that. And, it really hurts my feelings, but how dare I say something and be disrespectful or seen as
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful. So just kind of that, trying to manage and anticipate that. I think there's also seasonal depression, that plays a part into, this is when it starts to show up for a lot of people is during these colder, darker months that happen to be when we celebrate our holidays.
I mean, it just sounds like so much. After you put everything, you got grief, you got isolation, you got seasonal depression, you got like anxiety, finances. It's a big
Mm-hmm,
thing as
mm-hmm,
more and
mm-hmm.
more people are without jobs or
Yes.
underemployed and things of that nature. So it
Yeah.
really is like a lot of things that
Mm-hmm,
cause the stress and anxiety during this time of the year, and you put the pandemic into the mix.
mm-hmm,
um, with all of that being said, on one of the shows a couple of years ago, I read an article talking about the effect of the holidays on
mm-hmm,
women,
mm-hmm,
as women have been shown to be shouldering a lot of the
mm-hmm,
responsibility during this pandemic with
mm-hmm,
homeschooling and
mm-hmm.
finances and everything else as well. Do you think that the pandemic has taken a greater toll on women, in your opinion, and in particular, Black women?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like I was saying earlier, the pandemic has changed everything about life as we've all known it. I think it has affected everybody globally. I think that Black women naturally, or maybe I shouldn't say naturally, but tend to carry more stress and worry and anxiety anyway. And then when you throw in an extra financial strain because I can't go to work because I'm non-essential, you
Um,
know, that part, it's just changed everything. Even the fact that those of us who chose to stay at home and work from home or lost our jobs because we weren't essential or whatever the case may be, working and hustling and all of the social stuff and parenting and, marriages and all of those things that we tend to and that create their own, you know, come with their own emotional tolls. Now you kind of take away my escape. I was working all the time, I was out, I was doing this, and I didn't have to really sit with this stuff. But
uh-huh.
now you lock me in the house.
And you got to confront all of this stuff. There's no
Uh-huh.
way out.
There's no way out. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
thought about that a lot because, especially as a Black woman, but also a mother,
Mm-hmm.
how many of us use work? Work is kind of like an escape for some of us. It's a break. It's a break from our
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Hate to say
Yeah.
it, we love our children, but
Exactly.
and for a lot of people, it is a break. It's a way out of their household. It's another world to kind of go and be in. And if
Mm-hmm.
you spent the past 2 years at this house, and maybe you had 2 years with the kids in the house too, so it's almost like a loss of identity in a way.
Yeah. 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 And Black women don't do emotions quite as well,
Mm,
mostly. And really, I don't know who does. But I know I work mostly with women and in particular Black women, and I have been really blown away at the number of times I've had to literally tell someone to stop and breathe and
mm,
what's that emotion. And for like, I've had people get up and walk out if they shed a tear.
yes,
They come in, I don't want to cry. I ain't trying to do all of this stuff. We ain't got to
yes,
talk about the past. I'm here to fix this. And it's
right.
like, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down, and they don't want to feel it. I just don't. I can't. And so a lot of what I'm doing is like helping people unlearn that emotions are bad, that they're not human, that they're
Yes.
not normal. It's just kind of like normalizing and teaching about emotions. And so many women or people in general would let me just, if I can just sweep it under the rug and stay busy, if I can keep going back to school, getting all of this education, I'm going to go back and get another degree. Now I want another master's. No, I want this. No, just steady, chasing, chasing something. Because if you slow down, every bit of those emotions, every bit of the thoughts, they catch up. And so we've been forced to deal with that, like suddenly.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this, the whole world shutting down. Nobody saw that coming.
No, and you just basically you said a lot. I've had like two different episodes. I feel we've talked about. One was an episode I did with Moms and Martinis podcast, and we talked about taking a break from being the strong Black woman. And Tamara Winfrey Harris has this book called The Sisters Are All Right. It's in the second edition print and came out like maybe a month or so ago. And there's a chapter on being the strong Black woman and how it's actually killing Black women, because it's a lot of shouldering these emotions, keeping a lot of stuff in. There's higher rates of Black women having strokes, diabetes, and all these issues because we're carrying all this stuff in. And it's the need to, like you said, and I wrote down, unlearn the need to stay busy.
Yeah.
And I think it really was a breaking point during this pandemic because you had no choice but to sit.
Yeah.
At the beginning part, because nothing was, supposed to be open, even though I'm in Atlanta and we were kind of open. But in the beginning, we were actually pretty closed. And I think that was a time for people. People were going stir crazy because you had to kind of like look at the man in the mirror. You had to sit there in those feelings. And I was telling someone the other day, I said, I don't think I have cried as much as I have cried these past 2 years because I think I have done all this type of work. Because I've confronted all these emotions because I had to sit.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's incredibly difficult for a lot of people. Just the thought of feeling something is terrifying. It's terrifying.
So what advice would you offer our listeners? I say that this podcast is targeted to those who feel overwhelmed because we want you to find the time to take a break. What advice would you offer those listening who are suffering from holiday stress, anxiety, and depression?
I would say be honest and realistic with yourself. That's the first thing. You really got to understand like what your limitations are and honor that. I would say rehearse your boundaries and so that you can implement and maintain them. Understanding kind of, if you're going to be facing the microaggressions that we were talking about earlier in your family, go ahead and prepare yourself for that. Kind of align yourself with what's true and what's fair and realistic, and then set your boundaries accordingly. Have a plan, as far as, what are my needs going to be? Can I sleep on the couch for a whole week at mama's, or would I honestly feel more comfortable getting a hotel?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like, go ahead and have a plan that is centered to what your needs are. Because
go and ahead. I think too, also in that point, so I'm seeing myself setting up, kind of rehearsing that conversation too, in case someone gets offended, because kind of voicing that, I have a plan, and now somebody's like, well, you just sleep on this couch.
Yeah. And that includes financial boundaries too. Like if that, hey, we've been in a pandemic for the last few years. I've been out of work for, a year or a little over a year or 6 months, whatever the case may be, y'all might not get $75 gifts this year. I might have to, scale it back, and you get this $10 perfume gift that I got from TJ Maxx, and
Boom.
appreciate the thought. You know what I'm saying? So just even the financial boundaries there, just kind of planning, rehearsing your boundaries. And then for those who are dealing with the grief side of this, a plan too, what can you do to make it something you look forward to? How can you make a playlist that y'all know grandma would have cut up to? Find some pictures and set something up so that her presence and her memory is still honored. Just put some thought into it to where you kind of go into it with a plan and being proactive instead of going into it with dread and that self-fulfilling prophecy that like, this is going to be horrible. It's going to be, I don't want to cry. I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to see mama cry. I don't want to see, Uncle Bo cry, whatever the case may be. Go in with a plan. Like, hey, y'all, we're not going to do this year. We got a lot to be grateful for. This is what I've decided to do. Let's honor Big Mama. This is what we're doing, and go with it, So just kind of having a plan, but also don't be afraid to find local support groups, because a lot of mental health agencies and other community resources, churches and things like that will do programs and groups and stuff like that, so that people who are grieving can support one another. And I think it's a lot more effective than people might know. So I would say try to find community to help you and support you through that grief, because it is heavy at times.
Now, while you are out here counseling everyone that's dealing with their issues, how do you take a break from work? What advice can you offer listeners on taking a break from their job or their work?
Okay. Honestly, like, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
It's
work in progress. That's good.
It's a work in progress. I struggle sometimes with, taking the time off that I need. But I'm learning. And I think the pandemic, speaking of the pandemic, really helped me to understand like the need of my own self-care, because we started getting calls, like I'm talking 5, 6, 7, 8 calls a day of people trying to get into counseling. And I was working 5 days a week, seeing 8 people a day. Wow. And that was just exhausting. But the codependency in me is like, the world is coming to an end and people need help, right. and it's my time to like do my part. And it was well intended, and it was a good experience, but it took me out, like, honestly. So I had to stop accepting new clients. That was hard. So I stopped accepting new clients in July of last year, so that I could get a hold of my schedule. And I knew that it was going to take a long time for me to go from 8 to, 5 is comfortable, but I usually see still about 6. So anyway, I had to stop accepting new clients, and then slowly but surely I decided to push my schedule to just 4 days a week, so that I now have Monday off. So the weekend is like my family time, and then Monday is I want to do whatever. That's my time. So I go get my nails done, whatever I want to do on Mondays, and then work Tuesday through Friday. And I get off every day at 5 o'clock. I don't allow myself to stay till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night seeing people after work. That's just not gonna work. So I have set some boundaries, and it's been very beneficial, because I even found myself just using maladaptive coping through the pandemic, because it was difficult.
That's very good. Yeah.
I say be intentional too. Like, you got to be intentional. Like, you got to be intentional.
You do. And that's something we have been preaching since episode One is that you have to be intentional about taking a break.
Yeah.
You have to look at your schedule. And if you say every Monday at 7 a.m., you're going to get up and do X, which is take a walk or read a book. You have to be intentional about it. You can't you have to flex that no muscle. If someone asks, oh, well, you're up at 7. No, that's my time.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes easier said than done, but it's one of those muscles that you kind of have to work on. And I've learned it myself.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. You have to be intentional and reframe the belief that you don't deserve it. Or that, you know what I'm saying? Or that you have to do something. You choose to do a lot of stuff. And so telling yourself, I deserve this. I am worthy of resting. My body needs rest. And it's my responsibility to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, well, if I do that, then, that's so-and-so gonna be short, and I deserve this. I choose. I don't have to. I choose.
Oh, I love it. Okay. We are winding down. So a new conversation that I am starting to incorporate in season 3 is we're talking about intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Did you set a particular intention for 2021? And if so, how have you been working towards it? Or how have you not been working towards it? How did it work out? How did it not work out?
It's funny that we're talking about being intentional, because that was my word for 2021.
Okay.
Intentional. Be intentional. Be intentional. Be intentional with your authenticity. Be intentional with your vulnerability. Be intentional just in everything, with your gratitude, with your love, with everything. Be intentional. And it's worked out very well. I feel like I've grown so much in this year of being intentional. My husband and I, we just got married last month, but I had a townhouse. Well, thank you. I had a townhouse, and I decided to sell it. And so we moved in with his mom. And I wrote in my journal, because our relationship hadn't always been close, we kind of tolerated each other. But that had gotten better, but I wasn't sure how it would go living with her for, a couple months. And so I remember just kind of writing in my journal, my intentions for while I was there. And it was just the greatest gift that I could have given myself, because we were able to really get to know each other, and we both were just so open to each other. And now it's just, it's just the ideal relationship. But I think had I not been intentional about it, it may or may not have been that way. And so the same is true with my work. I started being intentional about my authenticity and vulnerability as a therapist with my clients, because, I think it's natural, and especially for a young therapist, to have that kind of imposter syndrome and want to paint this picture of perfection for clients or for the public or whomever. And so I was very intentional about that. And it changed, it took my skills to a whole new level. Once I allowed myself to be more intentional with those things, it changed the game.
Like that. Okay.
I've already picked my 2022 word too.
What's your 2022 word? I'm still meditating on mine. Okay. Shift. I like that. I can't wait to hear about how that manifests itself in 2022. I am one of those people. I believe once you put that intention out there, stuff will rise up to kind of like bring it to your awareness. Like if you say that a year is going to be like, this is going to be your peace year, all the stuff that's going to cause you not to have peace will come up just to kind of test you and to see how you're going to react to it and teach you lessons on it. So yes, shift. I like that. Oh my goodness.
Hey, let me know when you find your word too. Did you have one? Did you have one for 2021?
Yes. This is my growth year. And it has been a year. Everything that could happen. And so I break mine down. I set my intention and then I break it down by 3 big categories. So growth in my career, growth in my finances, and growth in my relationships. And I was tested.
Wait. Growth in my career, growth in my finances, and growth in my relationships. Oh, wow.
And I learned something in each one of those categories this year. And I still got a month and some change to go. So
Really? Can I ask what's been the most, you don't have to share if you don't want, but I'm so curious about what you learned.
So of course there'll be an end of the year episode. And I think I did a check-in. So far the biggest overall lesson so far is that growth is not without pain. So many times we ask for growth and it's like we want to take it with the sugar. We don't want to take it with the sour. And most growth comes with pain. And so whereas I have seen growth in all of those categories, I'm in a relationship now. I got divorced in 2018 and it's a great relationship. This is but there's also been some stuff where I've had to turn the mirror on myself a lot this year and face some stuff that I am doing this. I had one thing I think I shared on the podcast where I recognized that I was doing some stuff that I accused my mom of doing and it was manifesting in my relationship. So that was part of this year, this fun growth year. Growth in my career, recognizing that, when I rise, it may not be how I want to rise or where I want to rise. And it's not going to always be easy.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh my gosh.
And the financial thing, yes, well, I'm always learning money lessons.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
But there's actually been something each. This has been an interesting year for me setting an intention. And I think this has probably been one of the toughest ones. This has been a tough lesson year, but it's been a good year.
Okay, good.
So we're going to see. And then I do the little end of year wrap up episode. But yeah, I'm eager to see what more I have to learn in the next month and a half around growth.
Oh man, growth year. Okay. I can't wait to hear what you come up with for next year.
Hell, I'm waiting to see what's going to come up. Some stuff is percolating around, so we'll see.
Okay, good.
Well, Adrienne, tell everybody where we can find you out there in the social media internet streets.
Okay, let me see. I recently changed my Instagram name. So it's just Inspire Counseling, but it's an underscore at the end.
Okay, awesome.
So Inspire Counseling _ that's Instagram. I like Facebook. Apparently I'm ancient or something because I like Facebook. But I do still have a Facebook page and it's just at Inspired by Inspire.
And for everybody, we will put the social media handles and her website in our show notes. Adrienne, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've enjoyed you. This has been such a good conversation.
Yes, I've enjoyed you too. I want to learn more about what you've got going on. You're doing some great stuff, and I just want to tell you to keep going. This is good work, good content. So yeah, I can't wait to see what is in store for you. Definitely keep in touch.
Yes. Definitely look forward to having you back again. So everybody, stick around for the 3 breakaways. And we are back. Thank you guys for joining me for season 3 and the very first episode of the season. I hope it was a good one. I hope that this holiday season finds you in a much better place than you have been in previous holiday seasons. And if not, I hope that this episode has provided some breakaways, even if they're not the ones that I chose. It has given you some breakaways, some things to think about, to consider, and hopefully brings you some perspective and some ease as you come into this holiday season. But without further ado, I'm going to go with the 3 breakaways. Breakaway number 1. Unlearn that emotions are bad. Unlearn that emotions are bad. Adrienne shared that she gets so many people coming into sessions not wanting to cry, saying I'm not going to cry because they don't want to feel those emotions. And I know as a child, a Black girl growing up, I was often taught to stifle my emotions, to suck it up, to act like they weren't there. To the point where I got older, I was accused of being a robot because I just had such this stoic nature. But it's okay. It's okay to feel. It's okay to put your emotions out there. Holding it in can be so toxic. Unlearn that feeling your feelings and having those emotions and showing those emotions are bad. I think that is such good advice as we head into this holiday season where we are going to be around a lot of people that we may have complicated histories with, but we have been told to sit on those emotions and just kind of suck it up. Unlearn that. Unlearn that emotions are bad. Breakaway number 2, unlearn the need to stay busy. We are almost afraid to sit down. And this is a lesson I learned before the holiday. It's okay to just sit still, you know? A lot of times clarity comes when you're still. So just because it's the holiday, you can be honest, right? You can be honest with your feelings and emotions. If you want to sit there, you don't want to make 5 sweet potato pies and 2 banana puddings. You don't have to do all that, because a lot of times you find out, I know personally, I have found out that I do way more than what's expected of me. Why? It's like because I feel that if I'm not busy, I'm not moving, that I'm being lazy. And sometimes we need to rest that body. We need to rest that mind. And that is how we'll be able to rest and actually feel and enjoy our holidays. A lot of times we hate the holiday season is because we feel like we have to be busy. We have to be doing everything. The host with the most, the cook in the kitchen, gotta clean, gotta buy all the gifts, you know, and we're doing that busyness sometimes to cover up some of our other emotions. You know, those emotions that we think are bad, we're trying to hide from. Busyness sometimes is a tool that we use to try to ignore that. So I want you to unlearn the need to stay busy. Finally, breakaway number 3. If you follow me on social media, you know that I have been posting about this. Unlearn that you are not deserving of a break. And again, speaking as a woman, as a mother, we feel like we have to do everything. We have to be the superwoman wearing the cape. Who needs a break? We don't need a break because mothers and moms and women are expected to be busy. And you better unlearn that. Unlearn that you are not deserving of a break. Everyone deserves a break. Everyone deserves an opportunity to rest. Everyone deserves the opportunity to take a break, to connect with themselves, to fulfill some of their needs, unless those needs are harmful to others. But you deserve that time. You deserve that break. Thank you so much for listening. I got so much out of this episode. I hope you did too. If you are serious about setting intentions for 2022 or even finishing out 2021 strong, please support my Etsy store. I am a small business. I'm a small but mighty business, honey. And I need you to go over to my Etsy and support me by buying one of my break-taking tools via the worksheets or the 2 journals on the website. As always, you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Until next time, find a little time to take a break. Bye. Thanks for taking a break to listen to the episode. Connect with me at PM Kester, that's KESTER on Instagram, or email thekestergroup@gmail.com. As always, subscribe, rate, and review us on your platform of choice. Until next time, find a little time to take a break. Bye.